Hello and welcome to No Holds Barred with Andre Walker. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking anti-Semitism with Jonny Gould. The Henry Jackson Society's Sam Armstrong will be telling us about the dangers posed by allowing terrorist supporters into Downing Street. And of course, we'll be awarding both the Order of Lenin for Loony Lefty of the Week and the weekly Whopper Award for the biggest lie. But first, this week's talking point is all about anti-Semitism. Now, we all know the far left has always had a problem with the Jewish community. They take the community's willingness to assimilate as a defence of Western capitalism. In the Soviet Union, Jewish people were banned from top universities and faced discrimination every single day. And let us not forget that the worldwide communist movement, including the British far left, supported Adolf Hitler up until 1941 because of the Nazi-Soviet pact, a fact they do not like being reminded of today. They had no problem with the race laws that saw Jewish people wearing yellow stars and being banned from various professions. Their only objection to Hitler was they tried to topple that evil despot Stalin, who they loved at the time. Fast forward 80 years and the far left have not changed, but something has changed. The Labour Party. In the past, these people were fringe lunatics, but not anymore. Labour has been lost. Its moderate supporters scattered and its deputy leader pushed into early retirement. All as Jewish former Labour MPs like Ian Austin are forced to choose between party and community. If you care about racism, about tolerance, about a free society, make sure you find out which Brexit party or Tory candidate is most likely to beat Corbyn. That is your moral and patriotic duty. And that was this week's Talking Point. Joining me to discuss it is Jonny Gould from Johnny Gould's A Jewish State, the podcast. Johnny, welcome.
It's a pleasure, Andre. Nice to be here.
So, a robust introduction, but I wondered, are you concerned about the way that Corbyn and the rest of them are treating Jewish people?
Yes, deeply concerned. And I've been saying this very, very clearly. Even in opposition, he is having an impact on Jewish life. I send my kids to a faith school, a Jewish school, and it is hidden behind massive iron gates with live security guys of 6'6". You have to be very careful to walk in and out. You're not allowed to commune by the gates lest there be a drive-by or whatever there might be. So this is happening while Corbyn is in opposition. Our constitution has been messed about with over the last 10 years to the point where it seems like there's a permanence of coalition between the Prime Minister and all sorts of opposition. Labour in England, the Scottish nationalists in Scotland, and anyone else who fancies a shot on the telly as well. And so these things have got to change. Brexit has abrupted everything. The Supreme Court, this 10-year-old idea which emasculated the House of Lords, has changed things. I'm not against the House of Lords. I think it's quite good to have elders in society sort of helping out the legislature.
Yes.
But anyway, that's another debate. And these things together have created this sort of impasse, which of course has ended up with 3 elections in, what, 5 years?
But you say that you're a parent. And look, I'll tell you something about Jewish friends that I've got. What they say to me is that effectively some people are admitting that they're ready to leave the country if necessary because they're frightened, and other people aren't admitting it, but everybody has their evacuation plans. Isn't that a sad state of affairs for Britain?
Especially when you are cultured in being British and suddenly there are 500,000 members of the Labour Party who sort of tell you you're not exactly. You know, when you're born in Birmingham, like me, my father was born in Birmingham, my grandfather was born in Birmingham, 115 years ago. My great-grandfather came to Birmingham in the 1860s as a boy. This is very, very hard to take, especially from people who may not have been here as long as we have. I am culturally British. What am I going to do living in another country? I want to stay, I don't want to die. I'm very patriotic. I think this is a great country, and I just don't want to be proved wrong.
See, this is the thing that I don't understand. This is where I believe it's anti-Semitism, not anti-Zionism. Because I strongly disagree with a lot of things that the Russian government does. But I don't believe in the abolition of Russia. as a solution. And yet, if you disagree with what Israel does, the solution is to abolish it.
Yes, anti-Zionism is not criticism of Israel, it's anti-Semitism. You can be, listen, Israel's a democracy, it can handle its own criticism, thank you very much. It makes rather comical assertions then, if it has its own robust democracy, which actually I would argue is freer in speech than here these days, that is less politically correct because it has to be, to have some Muppets, 1,500 miles away waving Palestinian lanyards. They don't know the country, they don't know what it's about. It's comical, it's nonsense. Anti-Zionism, what, the removal of Jews from Israel, from the Levant coast, that's a Holocaust.
Absolutely. And you often hear this, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Now that to me just sounds like ethnic cleansing.
It sounds like a rabble running across the border, breaking down fences and slashing people, and it ain't going to happen. And the whole thing, right? The whole kernel about all this is Israel is about defending itself. What's the army called? It's called the Israel Defense Force.
Yes.
And it's made up of men and women who have brothers and sisters and wives and children. And, we're talking about a border which is 9 miles from Tel Aviv at the sort of narrowest point.
Yes.
This is about survival. This is about the absolute survival of the people. They don't particularly want to fight. When you join the British Army, Richard Kemp told me the other week that he joined to fight. For the Israeli Army, if you join, it's about defending your family, which is, you can just about see them.
So I suggested in my opening that the far left have hijacked the Labour Party, and the reason that they hate Jewish people is because because they believe that Jewish people support the status quo, i.e. capitalism in the West. Is that your view?
I mean, they'll attack Jews whether they're rich or poor. The Labour Party was traditionally for Jewish people because between 1945 and 2009, the Jews were, on the downside. They were setting a state up. The Israeli Jewish state was, 50 or 60 years old. It had had wars every 12 or 15 years from very hostile neighbours. And suddenly, around about, I think, the credit crunch, things started to change. Israel, Norway, Canada, we know the countries that kind of escaped the credit crunch. Israel doesn't have resources to waste. It couldn't waste its money in the credit crunch, and it started to evolve into a first world nation.
Yes.
Me no likey if you're Labour. They don't like rich Jews, they like poor Jews. That's what's going on there. They don't like Jews with guns who defend themselves. They're cowards. And I can't express it in any more clear state like that.
But Johnny, here's the other thing that worries me in a big way. We all know that anti-Semitism is a vote winner for the Labour Party. And so, in fact, whilst there's people like me and people who watch shows like this who are supportive of the Jewish community and feel bad, the majority of Labour politicians see a benefit at the ballot box.
Yeah, a man of peace is the biggest lie that could be said about Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes.
If he was a man of peace, then he would engage with Israel, with Jewish leadership, not talk about Netanyahu being this, that, and the other. By the way, as I say, Israel's got its own democracy. Benny Gantz has also failed in trying to create a coalition government. That's the kind of politics that we have in Israel, where a whole country wants to be prime minister. The whole country thinks it can do a better job than everyone.
Hang on,
and eventually everyone gets a chance.
Hang on, sorry. The Jewish community being argumentative amongst itself.
Well,
Johnny, I simply don't believe it.
Yeah, 2 Jews, 4 opinions, maybe 5. But this is an ideological nonsense, and it is very easy to take apart the Corbyn position when you consider that actually all he stands for is being an enemy of the United States and all its allies, including us, including Britain.
Well, that's absolutely right. When Jeremy Corbyn says sometimes it's important to speak to people with whom you profoundly disagree, he's never done that in his life. Had he done that, he would have had some credibility when he called Hamas and Hezbollah his friends. But actually, it always upsets me about the way he talks about the Northern Irish peace process. He didn't have any contribution. The reason he was talking to the IRA was because he supported them and wanted them to win their terrorist war.
In my multiple identities, I'm a Brummie as well. And for him to rock up at Birmingham Poly at what is now called the City University on the anniversary of the Birmingham pub bombings was trolling
the victims.
Birmingham's community of British people, of Brummies, and he got a welcome from a few people, didn't he, when he got out of his his trailer from a few men of a certain age who remember it from 1974. It really upset me. It really upset me because he was trolling them as well.
But the problem is, if you are an ordinary Brummie who has been a Labour supporter in the past, who is patriotic, who believes in freedom for this country, independence, anti-racism, you've got a real problem. I say what you've got to do is vote for the Conservative Party or the Brexit Party, even if you only do it once.
Yeah, he's a London sort. He ain't Labour like me. That's the kind of message, and you get it up in the north as well.
Fantastic. That is Johnny Gould from Johnny Gould's Jewish State, the podcast. Make sure you check it out. And now for Whopper of the Week. And this week, we're giving the prize to mainstream media for breathlessly repeating Jeremy Corbyn's lie about secret plans to sell off the NHS. As you'll recall, the Labour leader waived a 451-page document about the secret trade negotiations with Donald Trump and claimed it proved the NHS will be sold off. But when Guido Fawkes got hold of it, he found just 4 references to the NHS, a guarantee that no public services would be privatised, and in any case, it was written under Theresa May's government. So congratulations to the mainstream media for winning Whopper of the Week. Your prize is a gift card to Pizza Express Woking. Enjoy. In fact, that's 2. Anyway, ever since Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell hijacked the Labour Party, their links to various terrorist groups have been exposed for the whole country to see. Whether it be attending the funerals of IRA killers or calling Hamas and Hezbollah friends, the leadership of the Labour Party always seem to be on the wrong side of the argument. They also, by the way, have talked about abolishing MI5, a body that works night and day to protect us from the evil terrorists they love to fraternise with. But how worried should we be about this? I'm joined now by Sam Armstrong from the Henry Jackson Society. Sam, how worried should I be?
Well, pretty worried, actually. Richard Dearlove used to be the head honcho at MI6, our top security agency, said last week that some of Corbyn's top aides, Seamus Milne, a person that many people have heard of, another chap called Andrew Murray, wouldn't even get security clearance to work in our security services at the lowest level. They could be making the most important decisions we make. Who knows what they would be doing?
And it's really worrying, isn't it? Because there's always been question marks, not about their political views, because always remember, there's no issue with somebody gassing off a political view. Doesn't bother me. What the issue is, they hang round with these people. They go to the terrorist meetings. They share platforms with the killers. They support those people who've been to Guantanamo Bay or attacked the British state.
Well, Andrew Murray, one of those advisors, he met in the 1980s almost half a dozen times with a spy from the Czech Republic, then a part of the Soviet Union's Warsaw Pact, a communist country. They regarded him highly as an asset. Seamus Milne, when he was at The Guardian, gave a platform to more writers from the Muslim Brotherhood than any other comment editor in the history of The Guardian. Corbyn himself goes out to the Middle East and lays wreaths for terrorists,
Hang on, he was present but not involved. But actually, that's something that does worry me, because it is about them being actively involved. And as I said to Johnny Gould a second ago, you know, they say that they are willing to talk to people they profoundly disagree with, but you see no evidence of them speaking to Israel. You see no evidence of them speaking to the Ulster Unionists. You see no evidence of them defending the security services over the Salisbury incident. Remember, a chemical attack in the United Kingdom, and the Putin line is being peddled by the guy who might be Prime Minister.
One principle alone lies behind everything Corbyn and his ilk have done. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Their enemy is Britain. This is Corbyn's enemy is Britain and America, the transatlantic alliance that has kept us free and safe. If you're a group, however nutty, however crazy, that opposes Britain and America, particularly those that try and pull them apart, he is more than delighted to be your friend, to go out there, to meet with you, to invite you to tea in Parliament, all the rest of it. It is that enemy of my enemy is my friend principle that will lie behind everything he's done. Make no mistake, he hates Britain.
But what happens if he does become British Prime Minister? Because, by the way, Sam, I agree with you. I think you're right. I think there has been a long track record with Jeremy Corbyn of supporting our enemies, no matter how crazed, no matter how dangerous, no matter how damaging. But what if he does get into number 10? I mean, first of all, you know, will the Queen allow these advisors to get security clearance to go to number 10? You know, how does it work?
Well, so they'll have to go through, there's 3 levels of clearance. There's counter-terrorism check, it's the lowest level, basically checks that you're not a terrorist yourself. Security checks, which is a kind of moderate level, and then there's developed vetting, which is what all senior number 10 advisors who are seeing national security information need to see. That is a very hard level of clearance.
And that's
to
the
get
one
the
where
best
you,
of time.
that's so, when I worked in the House of Commons, I just did the thing that checked I wasn't a criminal or a terrorist. That's the basic one, right?
Correct.
But this one that you're talking about is where you go for the interview with people, where the detectives come round to your house and where they check your entire background. Well, in the case of Seamus Milne, they check his background. They'll find he's friends with loads of terrorists.
Indeed.
It's not even a secret.
If Corbyn wants Seamus Milne or Andrew Murray or a number of his senior aides to go with him into number 10 and to have access to this information, he will have to personally overrule the direct advice of senior MI5 officials in order to get them in. It is that serious. Dearlove was clear. He knows. He was there. He's done it for years. These people would not, under ordinary circumstances, be cleared to see national security information. They simply can't be trusted.
And can that happen? Can Corbyn overrule these people? Because, you know, the Prime Minister is not the ruler of the country. There is the Queen there who's a check or balance.
Well, on security matters, like going to war, the Prime Minister acts on behalf of the Queen. He
Right.
becomes, in essence, Commander-in-Chief in American terms. So he probably would be able to overrule it. There would be an almighty row when he did, although knowing Corbyn and his views about the media, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to brush it under the carpet as best as is possible, and we would never hear head or tail of it.
It's absolutely terrifying. Sam Armstrong from the Henry Jackson Society, thank you so much. And now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We reveal who's going to get the Order of Lenin. Labour activist and teacher Holly Rigby is winning it this week. She founded Labour's Abolish Private Schools campaign, and she is one of the people who seems to be able to hold down a full-time job as a teacher whilst also popping up on TV and radio all times of the working day. We all know that she disgraced herself on Politics Live versus Douglas Murray, but she's also advocating pushing 100,000 extra kids into state schools from private schools, which will destroy education for millions of children. She's happy to make poor kids poorer as long as the rich are less rich. Loony. And she gets the Order of Lenin. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks to my guests, Jonny Gould and Sam Armstrong. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell on YouTube. And you can nominate anyone for the Order of Lenin or indeed Whopper of the Week. Just put the name and explanation in the comment section below. Until next week, goodbye.